Alright, continuing to slowly try to unpack this whole dang mess. Should I have anything locked in yet? No, I still don't know your job. So we still want to find Mark Clementine's job if I can. We've had some references to a school for the deaf. There's some stuff going on with these documents. I've at least read everything again. I just need to start unpacking some of this mess. I don't know how to get... So I should look to see... Can I get photos of these people? Like Christine Farrow. Was there anything else to get in this bit with the school for the deaf? Keep calling her Miss Ford. But I should know her full name. Susan Ford. I don't know if Susan Ford would be a searchable name. No. We looked up the school. I think I need to find more about Ford at some point, but maybe not right now. Okay, so we still want to find the old rugged cross from the Clementines. It's a popular hymn that had been covered by many, many artists. You won't find much relevant information about it online. Oh, that's Mary Beth Quick. Yeah, we already found her name. But I would hope to find a copy of it that might have her face. How do I get her face? Let's see. It seems that New Edison Records and Modern Music Monthly had quite a bit of overlap. There are countless advertisements for various covers of popular songs, and they all start to blend together. When you scan the results for anything other than an advertisement, you get a very brief blurb when New Edison was sued by Edison Records. Oh. I thought they meant... I thought they meant like the Edison estate. By the time the magazine had covered, it looks like the lawsuit was settled out of court, and New Edison was destined to be shut down. The owner, who went by Sterling Edison, said he'd like to create a new record company, but there's no evidence anywhere that he did, and that was the last mention of him in MMM. It's funny that he's known for just making covers, and then he also then got sued for his name not being different enough from somebody else's name, basically. Anything about this lawsuit? Edison Records v. Edsel. Edison Records was one of the first record labels named after Thomas Edison. The history of the company seems very unimportant except for the potential legal lawsuit they filed in 1949, Edison Records v. Edsel. A website about lawsuits mentioned that this was a fun case because the name of the lawsuit was actually the biggest problem for the person being sued. A record producer who called himself Edison was immediately outed as not actually being named Edison. Oh. Edsel was a German last name, and at the time of the founding of the company, the US was at war with Germany. The company's founder immediately settled to try to get the case to go away, but the damage was done. His name's actually Edsel. Does that fucking matter? Do I care about that? I guess I get to slightly clarify the last name of a guy whose name was not taken into the family anyway, as far as I can tell. Maybe it'll matter at some point. It just seems really esoteric for not a lot of reason. Well, now I'll know why it doesn't even matter. I don't think I had a chance to get locked in before. Okay. There's so many nonsense endpoints. Okay. I need to get more stuff printed. I need to print more things. Any more things I want to look up with the Roottrees? It's mostly about VH releases of Gwyn's old movies. Let's look into Gwyn's old movies. Curious if any of them will reveal helpful things, or at least faces. I need a real name. Her name was just Gwyn Roottree, wasn't it? Didn't she go back to that name? Yes. I can't copy it from there. If you put the name backwards, it doesn't search it. Okay, damn. It's not keyword based. You have to type the phrase Gwyn Roottree correctly. This is the new updated version of the website. Gwyn Roottree is a somewhat well-known actress who was active in the 1950s. Her biggest role was in the minor hit movie Guys Like Us. She died in Paris, France about 3 weeks ago. Oh. After leaving Hollywood, she made no effort to stay in the limelight, and most obituaries tend to focus on her largest role, Guys Like Us. Not much is known about her death except that it was announced that she died peacefully in her sleep while being treated for a sudden, severe case of pneumonia. Before that, she had apparently been in relatively good health according to her friends and family in Paris. She was 67. Pneumonia just takes people out, unfortunately. I think I've heard of a few cases where it sounds like it doesn't have to, like, be that... It doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to have, like, that much of, like, pre-existing health conditions necessarily, but I don't know. Just one of those things where it's like when it happens, it has to be treated. Can I even get the VHS? I don't know if that's possible. This is not updated. I don't know if I'm gonna get anything out of this. And yeah, like I don't think I have a resource for looking up VHSs. Like it mentions VHS releases, but I think that might just be flavor. I don't think it's necessarily gonna come up what I'm looking for. So I might want to go back to the events thing again. So we looked at the 6 pieces. We can look at the Roottree Rift. The attempted response. I don't remember if I've looked that up specifically yet. Let's see. I think this is new. Yeah. The three press releases from the Roottree Candy Company after the release of 6 Piece were referred to as the Roottree Rift due to the clear conflicts between them. The first was fairly standard. It stated that there was no president of the Roottree Company, but that the entire family was made aware of the release of the book and that they would be meeting as soon as possible. Only then could they verify the legitimacy of the claims it raised and decide the next steps. The second release was emailed to business newspapers 3 hours later and announced that, after a vote, Ron Roottree would be taking over temporarily as interim president. It also went on to state that Ron was aware of the book, had verified the claims within, and would look into compensating Mrs. Madsen and her family immediately. It also stated that the company lawyers would be taking immediate steps with the family to revisit the Clanton Trust's terms to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Only a few hours later, when a bunch of people from across the country have to meet up with each other, so this was just this sounds like this was just Ron taking the lead and claiming to be president up front. Which also makes me think that Ron has an affair to cover if he's afraid that that somebody's going to uncover it by looking into the stuff and he wanted to control the narrative immediately. Which one's Ron? Is he the one that's... Yeah, he's the one that stuck around. He's the one so he's the one that tried to kick his own brother out of the family, which means he's also taken a prior interest in who does and doesn't get to be a Roottree, essentially. It was quickly clear to business reporters and Alice that the time between the 2 press releases would not have been logistically sufficient to gather a majority of the family, even using conference calls. This was reported on many news channels, and a third, much shorter press release came the next day. It claimed that a draft of the announcement was made prematurely, and that Clark Rafferty LaRue and Ron Roottree would be taking over as the company's first joint presidents. It also stated that any compensation planned would be based on stringent verification process. They're joint presidents. We didn't know that. So Ron and Clark are joint presidents right now. Roottree Rift. This is the main part. That he briefly claimed that he was going to be president, and then Clark and him talked. I wonder who was in the vote overall? They probably both were looking up again to see what new stuff there might be. Yep. Clark Rafferty LaRue is the new president of the Roottree Corporation. This does not include Root, which appears to have its own new leadership. In early March of 1999, about 5 months ago, it was announced that both Clark Rafferty LaRue and Ron Roottree would be taking over for what was essentially described as a transitional period in the aftermath of Six Pieces. About 2 weeks later, the company released a press statement that thanked Ron for his work, but announced that Clark would be the new permanent president. There's the timeline. So he is the one president. Most of the information about Clark you knew already. Many descriptions of him tend to focus on his advertising career and that his mother was Lauren Roottree. Few seem to touch on his complex and volatile marital history. Since taking over, Clark has tried to remain out of the spotlight, but did have one notable foray into the public eye. He gained a lot of support when his first move was a statement in favor of accepting Sam and her family into the trust. This also served as an announcement that the Clancy Trust would no longer be handled by anyone in the family, since, due to their financial motivation, none of them could ever be impartial. Okay. We knew about that. They're changing the Clancy Trust to be taken over by an outside source because they've already largely failed to honor it correctly from day one of existing, basically. Ron was announced as president of Roottree during the Roottree Rift, but the next press release immediately reversed the announcement and instead stated that Ron and Clark would be taking over. A few weeks later, Ron was dropped from the title entirely. There are hundreds of results about this development, but most articles are retelling of basic details. Some veer into heavy speculation based on an article about Ron and Business Watch. I was literally just thinking I should probably look him up on Business Watch based on what I'm currently looking into right now. I'm gonna leave this open for now, though. Ron has also done some interviews saying the truth of what went on behind the scenes is not something he wishes to discuss. Instead, he hopes to release a movie about it someday, of course. 3 weeks ago, Ron's mother, Gwyn, died in Paris, France. He and his brother Robbie have seemingly made amends. Well, that part's kind of nice, I guess. Ron Roottree and Business Watch. Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Roottree Rift about what really happened with Roottree. The article mentions that nobody from Roottree that they reached out to was willing to go on record. Instead, the timeline of events has been constructed from public record, accidental leaks, and a source on the inside. The only parts that are new to you are also the most vague parts. The ones supposedly confirmed by their anonymous source. The timeline says that the family actually held a preliminary vote after Carl Roottree died, but before the release of Six Pieces, and decided that they wanted Ron Roottree to take over because of his experience running RR Productions, and because he was well known and well respected at Roottree. But Ron seemed way too eager and personally motivated. They were worried that he would gut the Clancy Trust or remove Robbie Roottree. The family was notoriously unwilling to do anything that would risk their wealth. They stalled, and Ron became frustrated with the delay. When Six Pieces came out, he saw his chance to force his action while the family was in the limelight and released the press release himself. God, I'm sorry. I was at a convention yesterday, so I've been doing a lot of talking, in addition to the fact that I'm just playing this game all weekend where I read constantly, which is a break from the stress of Hollow Knight, but not for my vocal cords. Because, yeah, or Silksong. Well, it is called Hollow Knight Silksong. That game is stressful for everything else. I guess I yell sometimes, but I don't spend that much time continuously talking in non-stop like this. This caused chaos within the family. They tried to save face by allowing Ron to take over as co-president with Clark, but according to Business Watch's source, Ron was impossible to deal with. He seemed like he was unwilling to protect the Clancy Trust, and they eventually let him go. After that, the role passed solely to Clark, who nobody was excited about, but seemed like the safest choice. The way that Clark gets bullied every time he's mentioned is insane. Oh man. Let's see. So it's unclear if he even wanted to be president that much beyond his chance to specifically go after Clark, basically. Not Clark, Robbie. Let's see. Or Carl. No, Clark. Yeah, Carl's the one that died. Yeah. Oh, these annoying ass names. Okay, Roottree, go back. No. Oh, the back is very literal. Right. Clark Rafferty LaRue is probably also listed in Business and Watch recently. Clark Rafferty LaRue, as well as Ruby Spratt and her company Ruby Legal Enterprises. Ruby Spratt. What? That's not one of the names. Katrina, Jessica, and Chris are the kids. Danielle, Jane, and Kim are the wives. Who is Ruby Spratt? I also concerningly don't have a space to even put Clark on this. That's definitely Elias. It's locked in. And yeah, this is just a tiny tutorial, basically. This should be Guy Hudson, and we think this is Miracle Roottree. So I'm like, who's... Anyway, like, I just keep reading, obviously. But I'm like, what? Just gonna hit by new names. Clark Rafferty LaRue, as well as Ruby Spratt and her company Ruby Legal Enterprises, are featured in Business Watch after the company took over as keepers of the Clancy Trust. Okay, that's... There's an article about the process that interviews both Clark and Ruby. Alright. So I jumped the gun a little bit there. I was just like, what am I looking at? Oh yeah. Just to make things even more confusing with these names. Yeah, Ruby Legal Enterprises was mentioned here. To get away from the mess that was Robbie Roottree, they hired Ruby. Ruby and Robbie. Oh my god. Y'all, chill out with these names. It seems that Ruby actually approached the Roottree sometime in late March after the Roottree rift, but well before Rootreemania. An accomplished but relatively low-profile lawyer, she's offered her to work for very little money as long as she could be a public face to build her reputation. The family quickly jumped on this this chance, as many family members often attempt to spend as little as possible to keep their shares of the Clancy Trust as high as possible. So that one guy was probably controversial over that. After looking over the Clancy Trust more carefully than anyone had in years, Ruby came to the conclusion that Clancy Edward Roottree's implementation was not legally sound and that there would be constant legal challenges without some modifications. The family decided to put her in charge of the trust both legally and as a public face to prevent further issues. Ruby Legal Enterprises has been described as a mix between a law firm and a PR firm. Her first move, as sort of a trial run before she was even hired permanently, was to help them draft a public statement accepting Sam into the family and declaring that they'd begin to address the Clancy Trust. This went quite well, and they officially hired her in early April. Okay, so... So Clark's just not very impressive. Like, it's like, oh, he seems decent. It's like, it's all fucking PR from Ruby. That's all of his motivation of all his actions, is he's just doing whatever he's told to do, basically. Ruby Legal is now in charge of many financial aspects of the company, including verifying any claims to the trust and organizing the various charitable causes such as scholarships that have been set up in the name of the deceased. Names done in the... Okay. So the deceased have scholarships. The deceased inheritors, I think? Something stood out at me. Building her reputation. If nothing else, we probably want to go back to Ruby Legal Enterprises and do a spider search of that. Ruby Legal Enterprises is the name of a law firm that has been hired by the Roottree Candy Company. The company is named after its head lawyer, Ruby Spratt. You can't find much about the company aside from before this year, though all the articles tell the same tale. After the fiasco of Six Pieces and the revelation that Rootree's internal law group was complicit in a cover-up, they hired outside counsel. The Ruby Legal Enterprises group now seems to have ties to multiple aspects of the Roottree Corporation, including the Candy Company and Root. They were recently in the news due to a high-profile lawsuit they raised against Sisely Sanchez. Let's see. Can't find much about this before this year. Is Ruby League is RLE a fake company set up by the Roottrees for PR? That's my thought right now. Is that my first note I've written? No, I wrote at least one about names earlier in this DLC. Look at fucking tabs. This is such a messy one to investigate. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm really suspicious about Ruby Legal Enterprises not having any history that comes up before this year. And it has ties to Roottree Corporation and Root. Alright, so let's highlight this bit about Sisely Sanchez? Was that one of the names earlier? Salazar. No, very different name. So we don't know Sisely Sanchez yet, but they're probably trying to claim that they're a family member. Sisely Sanchez is the author of best known for The Portrait of a Changed Man, released in 1979. Her follow-up, Foreign Gospel, 1984, did not perform as well critically, but still sold quite respectfully. She has written a few more books since then, including a biography of Van Gogh, but her first two are her claim to fame. According to a site about authors, Sisely is known for her non-fiction, with a focus on exploring darkness and the human psyche. Recently, Sisely appeared in a magazine called Picot. And there we go. A new publication added and a printout. There we go. What is Picot gonna have overall? Recently, Sisely appeared in a magazine called Picot with an article about a book she had been commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. The magazine and Sisely herself were immediately issued a cease and desist due to its inclusion of pictures that she had never had the rights to publish. The issue was pulled from store shelves, making it an instant collector's item. A book she'd been commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. Sisely's gonna have to get her own page now. Because there's some stuff going on here. Bit of her writing. They were issued a cease and desist. Probably if not, this probably reveals someone. The fact that she's a novelist makes me want to look up her books real quick, whether they matter or not. Portrait of a Changed Man, 1979, out of print. The book's description has this to say: what if everything you stand for, everything you know to be true today, could disappear in an instant? All of your politics, relationships gone in the blink of an eye. Would you still be you? Sisely Sanchez tells this powerful, true story of a man who woke up after being saved from drowning in his backyard pool and became an entirely different person. Included are interviews from those that knew him best before, as well as a one-on-one chat that paints an entirely different picture. You won't be able to put this down without wondering, what if that were me? Huh. It's non-fiction. 1979. I wonder if that, timing-wise, it makes me wonder if that is Guy Hudson. Did Guy Hudson have a weird moment like that? But, like, we don't have a reason to think that because his behavior didn't seem to change while he was doing what he was doing. That seems like a bit of a leap. I'll highlight a little blurb just so I remember that I can find this later if I want to. Foreign Gospel. 1984. Softcover, nonfiction. Foreign Gospel tells the tale of a man from the Catholic Church who claims he was told by God that he should travel to Thailand and begin to preach. Specifically with the goal to convert 10,000 people. He returned to the United States after just over 2 years, claiming to have succeeded. This book tells his version of the story, but the author, Sisely Sanchez, also traveled to Thailand to investigate these claims and talk with some of the so-called converted. So just an interesting little, investigation, basically. Just doing cool investigative work. They just seem to just do their job, basically. But what is with Guy Hudson? Alright. Sisely Sanchez and Picot. What's Picot anyway? A recent supermarket tabloid that latches onto pop culture. Oh, it's like a tabloid sold in supermarkets. I was like, a tabloid about supermarkets? That's weird. So it's a tabloid. In an issue that focused on a talking toy fish and the demonic messages it supposedly said once the batteries ran low, Picot had an article about a canceled book by Sisely Sanchez. The book's subject was Guy Hudson, and the issue was that was said to contain pictures that Sisely didn't have the rights to publish. Because of the pictures, this issue was pulled from store shelves, making it the subject of some conspiracies and an instant collector's item. Due to this recall, the version found in these archives is incomplete. I got something, didn't I? Oh, yeah. Oh, this is the magazine. Basselbub? Could this popular gift be filling homes with satanic messages? The singing trout. So fucking funny, man. Plus, this utensil that would help you lose 50 pounds? Exclusive, Sisely Sanchez reveals Roottree secrets. How is that not the front page? Like, they're really going on with the bass? This was the issue of Picot magazine that contained an article about Sisely Sanchez. The story concerned an unreleased book she had written about Guy Hudson. It seems that it used photos of Guy that Sisely did not own the rights to publish. Unfortunately, the magazine was issued a cease and desist by the Rootrees lawyers. The magazine was pulled from shelves, and the version you found in your periodical search had the relevant pages removed, rendering this magazine useless. So useless it has 8 leads. Unless you want to try to read about potentially demonic fish toy. Basselbub. June 1999. I don't know how this has 8 leads, but I guess it will. I'm gonna type fucking Basselbub in. Elbub. That's kind of what I figured. What do you mean this has 8 leads? Isn't that the most of anything? It is. What? I can't even turn the page. Forget missing the relevant pages. I can't look at any of the pages at all. Period. The Photos of guy. Man, give me photos of guy. I need any photo of guy to put in here. Granted, I already have a photo of guy, so it's a little silly I need to find a new one to do it at all, but... Damn. Show me that redhead. Alright, how? I don't know. Actually, I genuinely don't understand. How does this have a lot of clues? So it's unreleased. So the book was stopped from being released at all. Because I want to look it up in the library, but even if it's unavailable, I don't think I can even look it up because it doesn't have a title anywhere. Like at all. It's very unhelpful. Oh yeah, Clark Rafferty LaRue is the third entry here. I guess I already looked him up. What do I do with that? And the claim that they were supposed to write it for Guy? Guy who died in 1982? 17 years ago? At the time of this? Right? I think so. Well, I was excited to poke through all this stuff, but I don't know if I actually... Did I actually see anything helpful to follow up on? They taught me about a gossip thing. Maybe that's what they mean, is just this. I need his exact name, don't I? Yeah, Clark Rafferty LaRue. But you have gossip about him? No? Who would they have tabloids about? Every time I open the welcome things, I'm a little annoyed. Oh, there's upgrades. This upgrade includes thousands of bug fixes and enhancements. Your system should now be more stable and smooth to operate. Here are some of the highlights. Your computer is now ready for Y2K. We recommend shutting it down on New Year's Eve just in case. File names can now be up to 20 characters long. That should be enough for everyone. Putting a CD in the drive upside down will no longer heat the plastic to dangerous temperatures. We no longer prompt you to replace printer ink when it's still 50% full. As always, remember cashew PCs are delicious. They're not for human consumption. Consume at your own risk. Cashew PCs are not safe for human consumption. Any computer parts eaten are done of your own volition, and you assume the risk. The Cashew PC Corporation cannot be held liable for any so-called instance of computer poisoning. Roottree. Boom. I feel like I'm either missing something or I'm at a bit of dead end with this particular element. Let's look up work time temp for the various secretaries. No, paste it in. Yeah, there. Worktime Temp is a company with many offices all over the United States. The Roottree Company is listed on their site as one of the companies they do business with, although it's far from the only one you recognize. As far as you can tell, there's no connection between Worktime Temp and anyone related to your search. Well, it's just like the end of relevancy for that topic. It's a bunch of specific secretaries that might matter in the long term, and that's the end of that overall. How am I going to find a picture of Christine Farrow? Did I spell that right? Farrow, yeah, Farrow. Was renamed Garland for most of her relevant life. That's what I figured. She was a local, wasn't she? Because she worked at the company. Nope. Alright, well. Mark Clementine. Did he go on to be noteworthy? Because his brother became a cop, but maybe Mark Clementine became a musician. Crocodile Clementine is listed on the website titled The Infamy List. It's a massive list of criminals who are known for odd crimes. Oh boy. Although Mark's nickname would imply he hails from Florida, a lot of the other names from here, or Australia, Mark is listed as being from Los Angeles. He's a pretty big entry. It seems like a real piece of work. There's a very small note from him being the basket baby of 1950, but almost everything else comes from his adulthood. The basket baby of 1950. Because of his adoption, supposedly? Which is that he's probably abandoned by miracle in a basket. He lost his job in 1975 as a pilot for a regional airline after he tried to board the wrong airline's plane. He was drunk. He was charged with trespassing and assault. In 1982, he was arrested for transporting smuggled animals over the Canadian-Mexican borders for a illegal reptile supplier in Los Angeles. He was apparently quite successful for the first 4 years, but was caught when he had to make an emergency landing in Portland after he was bitten on the foot by a crocodile, hence the nickname. Apparently, the Portland Telegraph is credited as having given him his nickname. His mugshot from this incident has been added to your photos. In 1993, he was released on parole, but his freedom didn't last long. He was arrested in 1994 in San Diego for violating an attempt to visit his daughter's graduation. To his daughter, he famously punched the principal, a man named Billy Sims. This incident received national press. What the fuck? Okay, first of all, the Portland Telegraph might be a name I'm allowed to look up. Yep, we're adding that to my list of things now. The Portland Telegraph was the one that provided the nickname Crocodile Clementine, and has some details about Crocodile Clementine's first major arrest. He was first flying weekly between Los Angeles, Juarez, and Vancouver in a small plane. His flights were very low, literally under the radar. He was only caught because he was bit by a crocodile in the leg and had to call in a mayday because he was losing blood. He tried to tell them that he was a crop duster who somehow cut his leg on a loose piece of metal in the cockpit, but his story seemed very odd, and controllers quickly alerted the police without informing him. When he landed, they were waiting, and he was promptly arrested. Yeah, that was not gonna stand very well when they saw the obvious bite. Alright, let's add this to the Clementine file, I guess. Okay. So 2 articles about him. Billy Sims. It says national press, so it should just be searchable then. Billy Sims is the principal of Sandstone Canyon High, who had his 15 minutes of fame in 1994 when he was punched by Crocodile Clementine at a graduation ceremony. Pretty much every news organizations, from trustworthy to tabloid, seemed to have their own take on the altercation. It wasn't the punch that captured the nation's attention, however. Instead, it was Billy Sims' matter-of-fact response to the threat and his comments afterwards, as heard in a now famous audio clip from someone who was recording the ceremony. Billy saw Mark hop onto the graduation stage and said, "Sir, you'll want to sit down or we'll have a problem." At that point, Crocodile reportedly sucker punched him in the face. Billy, apparently only slightly dazed, said, "All right, sir, I guess we'll have a problem." Clementine tried to throw another punch, but Sims anticipated it and performed a maneuver that spectators described as a wrestling move mixed with a backward somersault, which immediately brought both men to the floor, with Sims straddling Clementine, keeping him neutralized. As security arrived, the recording captured somebody asking, "How'd you do that?" And Sims' response was famously, "Trust me, I'm as surprised as anyone." Uh-huh. Fair. Oh my goodness. Huh. Why? why? No idea. Some of these notes are just like, hey, here's a series of documents that are relevant to this that might come up at some point. Sandstone Canyon High School. Yeah. Alright, well. Daughter attends... Oh. Sandstone Canyon High School. Not sure what to do with that. Oh, what we got here? What? Multnomah County Corrections Division. Mark Clementine. Well, somewhat less flattering photo. And so we have two for him now. I don't know about their spouse. What the hell are we doing with that? Multnomah. Multnomah. Yeah, it's spelled right. Wild. Put Billy Sims into the tabloids, since it literally mentioned tabloids. Picot magazine's kind of sleazy, so not afraid to publish a few details that more reputable news publications normally wouldn't. You look up the Billy Sims incident, and it seems they did report on it. You get a few new tidbits of information that might not be useful. Billy Sims was once arrested for throwing a Molotov cocktail at a company that was found to be testing their products on animals. According to police paperwork, Crocodile Clementine's bail was paid for by Tosarita Jacobson. It was fairly expensive. That's new. Tosarito Jacobson. Tostarito. Picot interviewed other students that were at the event to find out if anyone knew anything, and the word going around was that Mark Clementine showed up because his daughter Mary was graduating that night. There we go. Nope, wrong pages. Okay. All right. Mary Clementine. Don't know if she's the one that marries, so we could be wrong about that. Although her name is Mary. Ha. But yeah, he's a daughter named Mary. That's at least a name. I like to put them in to keep track of them, even though I don't know for sure what order they're going to be in. Tostarito Jacobson. Who the fuck are you? Fuego's Fiesta, a regional Mexican fast food chain, held a competition in 1993 that offered free meals for life to anyone that legally changed their name to Tostarito. The Tostarito was a burrito with a cylindrical tostada shell inside the flour tortilla. According to a few different sources, Tostarito Jacobson used to be named Lucinda. So, I take it that that's... Lucinda? Tostarito Jacobson. Okay. So I think you're Mary Clementine. I think you were Lucinda. Can I not get fucking any of these names to work? Lucinda. Is Lucinda just not an option? Lucinda is not an option. At all? I thought it was up here. It's Lucy, that's not Lucinda. Nicknames don't count. Maybe it's just not gonna matter? I don't... It's just a Lucinda Jacobson. Ah. Keep not meaning to open tabs the way I do. That's the only result? What do I do with that? I thought just the fact that it's giving me the information and it's like a hard to find name makes me think it's a family member, but Lucinda's literally not an option. Because you gotta use their original name. So I thought, oh, okay. Just logically slotting puzzle pieces in if you want to know what I was doing, because I guess I didn't fully explain it. I'm like, okay. Her name's Toasterita Jacobson, but her first name used to be Lucinda. And her last name would have then used to been Clementine, if they're descended from this family, and that's like why they're bailing them out. So I'm like, okay, they're currently Toasterita Jacobson, but they were Lucinda Clementine. So if I just put them in here, which means that they married, that's why their name's now Jacobson. That was the logic I was going with, like, okay, that's her name's Jacobson now. Because it wouldn't be you wouldn't be in the news as Jacobson, because they're already married, because they have their kids already, unless she remarried. But either way, Lucinda's just not an option. So whoever Lucinda is just not available, which is weird because this game's supposed to have red herrings in it. So you would think that the name provided you would think that just all the names that come up would just be options, so that could be wrong. But they're stopping me from being wrong by just not even having the name be an option. Oh well,